So good morning viewers, welcome to a Cars, Bikes and Trucks shootout where we have two seemingly very different cars, the Infiniti Q50 GT Premium spec and the Volvo XC60 in its range topping spec, the T6. With two cars that seem to be from very different classes, is we're doing specifically a safety comparison of all the active and semi-autonomous safety systems that these two cars have to offer. So this Infiniti Q50 is the GT Premium and it comes packaged with the full range of Infiniti safety systems. It's a whole collection of acronyms: PFCW, ICC, BSW, BSI. All these things combine to make it what I believe is a very useful car for daily driving when all these systems come together. The two-stage intervention that Infiniti programs these systems with, namely a short pushback on the accelerator and a warning before actively braking and correction, allows you to live with the car without it constantly overreacting to what it may regard as a dangerous situation. So if you look at the front, where this intake has been blanked off, there's a millimeter wave radar that does all the detection for the PFCW, the predictive frontal collision warning. For all the systems, the emergency braking is integral and there are warnings on the instrument panel when this activates, as well as flashing lights. It's easy to activate with just a simple push of the button. So when it's green, it means all are active. So right now, just for the forward, the predictive frontal collision warning, I'm going to try and catch up a little bit to Adam in front in the Volvo. And there, you see, there's nothing sudden or jerky about it, but the accelerator pushed back against my foot. So now for the lane departure warning, if I happen to drift a bit. So the flashing lights and the warning sound is one. On top of that, the steering wheel auto-corrected, so it turned back to the center of the lane. In previous Infiniti models, what would happen is there would be asymmetric braking, so if you were drifting to the left, the brakes on the right would activate briefly to pull you back, and vice versa. You know, if you were drifting to the right, the left brakes would activate. Now there's a slight amount of steering correction. So with all the green markings around the top view of the car, the bird's eye view, I know that the systems are active. With just a button on the wheel, I can change it to warning only, and even this, I can switch the warnings off through the car's infotainment system, the menu, and customize what I would like to be warned of, and even turn some active systems on and leave some off. Intelligent cruise control system active, and the three lines underneath the image of the car on the instrument panel denotes the following distance. So I can do medium, short, and if I switch it back again, it goes back to long. So what it does is, I've set the speed, but it'll slow down as it has now to 90, 80. It's slowing down only because Adam has slowed down in front. And what will happen now that he's speeding up is that the car will speed back up again automatically. My foot isn't on the accelerator to catch up to him. You know, essentially, I can maintain the same distance from the car in front without having any accelerator or brake input, as long as I maintain behind him. If I go to the speed cruise control and set it at the current speed that I am, 124 kilometers an hour, if Adam happens to slow down, but he changes lane, the car will slow down as well first, but once it's realized that he's moved out of the way, my speed will not reduce, I'll just simply overtake him. And right now, see, we've braked automatically because the millimeter wave radar in the front of the car has detected that he has slowed down. So I'm gonna try now to just let the car drift off to one side and show how it auto-corrects. There. A small steering input just to get the car back to the center of the lane, while at the same time the accelerator pushed back a little bit against my foot because Adam's distance and mine was closing. So now, just to demonstrate how good the radar in front is, I'm coming up on a motorcycle, and even then the frontal collision warning system and also the lane departure has kicked in, has slowed the car down for me. I'm just going to show how when there is a vehicle in the blind spot and the light illuminates in the A pillar. If I signal, the light flashes and also the warning in the cabin goes off. If I had started to turn the wheel, the car would have self-corrected the way it did earlier to keep me in the lane. What we have over here is the range-stopping Volvo XC60 T6, which comes in its most powerful iteration. Now, crucially for the local market, we're testing the T6 because it comes with the full range of safety features, as does the Q50 GT Premium. So, on a side-by-side comparison, on paper, the systems appear to be almost identical. Lane departure warnings, pedestrian and cyclist safety, active braking, adaptive cruise control. It's just a question of which system has been interpreted better by the car maker in a way that seamlessly fits a driving style rather than interferes. So what we're here to do today is to find out which system in which car provides a better driving experience. Stay tuned. So we've come up with a two-stage testing plan, which is a metallic front to mimic the presence of another car, and we'll be turning the box around and using the cardboard back end for the event that it's a pedestrian that crosses your path. Now that I've got Adam in front of me in the lead car, the Infiniti Q50, I can demonstrate how the safety systems in the Volvo XC60 T6 work. So I've noticed that the lane departure system, whenever the lane markings are not clear, it goes on standby. As soon as the lane markings become clear, it becomes available and lit in green. So now just a quick demonstration of what happens when I veer away from the lane. There is an audible warning sound, but not much in the way of steering correction as in the Infiniti. At best, a small amount of vibration. If we try that again, almost imperceptible. It feels like just road undulation from a rough road surface. So in that sense, the Infiniti interferes more with the driving, as in it corrects the steering, whereas in the Volvo it doesn't. Having said that, the Volvo system seems to be happier to work more in the background as opposed to the Infinitis, where warnings show up on the instrument panel without warning sounds. So it's clearly visible to the eye, and if you look at the dashboard, there is a light array which lights up. I'll try to demonstrate this by going close to Adam. That lights up in red, if you can see. If it detects that I'm going too close to him, with more lights for a closing distance. So now what I've got activated is the cruise control system in the XC60, where it's tailing Adam's car in front, and it's not going to dip below the speed that I've set. I'm just going to step that up a bit. If you heard that warning, it's because I departed from the lane slightly. So I'm just going to increase the speed and see if when I do that, the car reacts to me closing the gap between the XC60 and the car in front. What the car is doing currently, if you can see in the instrument panel, is that it's indicating what the speed limit on this highway is, and it's showing me a green line where I've set the speed that I want to cruise at. And if I step it up and I close the distance to Adam, there is a white line that appears on the circumference of the speedometer. Even though I've increased the speed that I want to cruise at, the car is refusing to go that high because the distance between me and Adam in the Infiniti is closing. It's accelerating and decelerating regardless of what I've set the cruise control at. And now that the road in front has opened up, the white line indicating the range of speeds it will travel at has disappeared, and it's replaced by the green line at which I've set my cruise control speed. I'm going to try and come up on Adam to see how the car reacts. There we go. Audible warning and flashing red lights on the dashboard. However, unlike in the Infiniti, the Volvo doesn't push back against the accelerator or auto brake. See, what's just happened is the dashboard array of warning lights has gone off because I've gone too close to the car in front. Now bear in mind that while that happens, nothing happens to the acceleration or the brake input. It's just an audible and visual warning for the driver to take action. Just for an example, a lot of the systems in the Volvo are more based on warnings, whereas the Infiniti takes these warnings and goes another level with mechanical intervention from the car. For example, the blind spot system in the Infiniti and the blind spot system in the Volvo only warns you with lights on the A-pillar, as does the Infiniti, but the Infiniti does corrective steering input as well. For cross-traffic intervention, the Volvo warns you using the same system as the blind spot monitor to warn you if you're reversing into cross-traffic, but it does not auto-brake the car for you, whereas in the case of the Infiniti, it does. Lane departure as well, the Infiniti and the Volvo both warn you in the same way that you're about to depart from the lane, but only the Infiniti corrects your steering input to get you back to the center of the lane. So the philosophies all boil down to what your needs are. If your needs are current, in the Malaysian market, you've got the Infiniti Q50 Premium for 280,000 ringgit. You've got the Volvo XC60 T6 for 316,000 ringgit. 36,000 is a big difference for us. But what you need to understand is that in future, the philosophies of each of these car makers will trickle down into all their other models, which means whichever system you prefer and how you would like it to work, you can find it across an entire range of products and find one that will suit your need.